Hello and welcome to Story Time with Christina, me. Ah. All right, so today I have my client Gina here again. There's a video on my YouTube page. If you're watching this on Instagram, you can see our first video where we kind of map out just her whole journey. It's a little bit longer. And today we're going to zone in specifically on just natural intelligence and the patterns that she has subconsciously imprinted into her body through what I call the higher or people call, not just me, the hierarchy of competence. So when we first started working together, she had these patterns she didn't know she wasn't doing properly. And then we bring awareness to those patterns. And then she notices that she's doing them, and then we bring them to a state of like ease, like, wow, this is really easy. And then it kind of drops in to her natural intelligence to be used whenever, and in times where she doesn't even expect it to be used, but her body applies it because it knows, because she's had a conversation with herself before. And so she can have and write and rewrite, and it talks back, and it does all these fun things. But I want her to tell you the story of just her experience of noticing that the natural intelligence working and being able to observe it. So.
Yeah, that shift from the very conscious use of these patterns and really trying to start to integrate them, and then them becoming subconscious was really just a really noticeable moment for me this past week. Actually, I had suddenly noticed I'd been using this pattern. This lip flutter, this like long exhale with this lip flutter. That I'd observed Christina using throughout so many of our sessions for the past 2 years.
And I don't really notice that I'm doing it. It's kind of like an intermezzo, shake it out, reset.
Exactly. Exactly. Reset, like when we're, about to start something or finish something or in the middle of something. Like if the moment, if it feels like it calls for that. And I recognized recently that I'd been using that so subconsciously in my day-to-day life recently.
You're in your car, right?
Yeah, thinking about a lot of moments like in traffic or kind of like a lot of different anxious moments in my life. I would find myself using this pattern that I think
body's applying it appropriately.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we just it just created this conversation between us about how suddenly, these patterns are becoming subconscious and things that my body kind of knows to do. Mm-hmm. I would say that, started when, we started working together as things I really had to consciously almost like feel like, make myself do sometimes because they felt so kind of unnatural or like not what my, body was wanting in certain moments. And now it's just remarkable kind of how much time it, I think, can take and how, but how you really see, these shifts so clearly when they happen. So
totally. And we've been working together for our 2-year anniversary is soon.
Yeah.
So these things take time. Like this is not like 7-day detox. Like no, you can get a booty program and a 7-day detox and any other freaking happen tomorrow thing. Not here. Yeah. Primal coding is something that takes time. You're creating neural pathways you didn't develop as a child, and she should have. And it doesn't mean that her childhood was horrible. It just doesn't mean that. It means that we're not taught that these things need to happen, and then we have anxious thoughts as a child, where we're awkward or we're socially not fully engaged or whatever that is for you as a child. All those things do affect your nervous system in that moment, and then for the rest of your life. And then we see it as these symptoms or dis-ease. And I get a lot of clients that have gone to all these different practitioners that are only touching part of the elephant, right?
Exactly.
The 10 parables of the 10 blind men and the elephant. They're all touching a different part, thinking that it's a different thing. But this guy who can see is like, yo guys, actually you're all right and wrong.
Exactly.
How do we see the bigger picture here? So I want her to also talk about when we first started working together and really what it took to integrate these patterns. Because again, it's been 2 years. Like, we have met consistently too,
yes.
And we are not like today after this, we're going to go deadlift. She started pole dancing classes and really like feels really strong and like that was not something that she could have thought that she could do when we first started working together. So yeah, talk about the patterns that we first started to input. Because when I first met her, she couldn't inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. Her tidal volume was very big because she did breathe mainly through her mouth. So she was always in this state of anxiety or just below that. So we really just, wanted to just soften her body and her tidal volume and her mind. And I want to talk you to say more about that.
Yeah, no, like you said, when we first started, I was taking these kind of gasping breaths through my mouth all the time, without really realizing it. Yeah,
it wasn't going anywhere. It was just up, like
exactly. And then not really exhaling was the second main thing. Never really having a lengthened exhale. So inhaling a lot, not really exhaling properly. So at first it was Christina giving me different ideas, different patterns, and trying them with me in our sessions, like the box breath, like these exhaling,
finding limits, finding what's comfortable.
Yeah, that too. You're right. And sort of reaching capacities, or playing around with them when we were together, so that when I would be on my own, I could feel sort of comfortable doing my best on my own with them. But the thing that we've been talking about is that at first it was a lot of very conscious, like, okay, I'm in a situation, I can tell for whatever reason my breath feels more kind of disordered or and I would have to take myself out of situations, maybe like go to the bathroom, go outside during a dinner or something, and try to consciously remember, like, okay, what was the thing we were doing in our session, and how and on kind of, and I could feel the patterns working in their
She was shifting her physiology consciously. It's like, we can talk to ourselves, we can create, this ability to calm ourselves with our words, but like, it's physiology is physiology, and it speaks a different language than words. So you can only say, it's okay for so long. If, if your nervous system doesn't know what it's like to be okay, and she didn't, because she didn't fully exhale, and that's the key.
Right.
Her exhale. And so getting her to apply those patterns at specific times, like, that takes work. So, like, you put in the work to change these patterns. I can't change her nervous system for her. I can only guide her to that space. And she does that work. So
and it takes time, like we were saying, like, and that takes that conscious effort to get to a place where suddenly you realize I'm using, my body is using these patterns, and I'm not even, my mind isn't even that aware of it, and like that's when like something is really integrating.
And then we take those patterns and we apply them to movement, and then she got to get to know her body and have this conversation with breath and movement, and here we are now with you today.
Exactly.
And do you have anything else you want to share?
I think just one other thing we were talking about was how I was really at such a place, like we talked about in our last video, I think a lot, of feeling like pretty desperately, like my body's working against me, like I was in such a kind of dire, like extreme position. But I think that so many people I can now see, like in my life, friends and family, and just people I even like strangers, you start to kind of see how everyone has these patterns that could be kind of adjusted, or refined,
observed. You're observing these parts of yourself.
Exactly.
Like, these are aspects of you that you were blind to.
Exactly. So I think that's just a really interesting, just something to think about. It's
and not waiting to a state of emergency, I guess.
Exactly.
Is what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yep. I think that's important.
Cool. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. This has been a really amazing journey with Gina. You're going to see more of Gina. There's so much more to talk about. You'll see some other clients, but she's the most willing to sit and talk. So thanks again, and remember that all these things take time, and I'm here to support you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment, and I'll see you next time. Story time is closed. I close the book for next time. Close book, yes.